I'm George Galloway.
And I am Steve Topple.
And we are Topple Galloway. 14 Russians lie at the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea. Shot down in an exchange of fire between Israel and the Syrian anti-aircraft batteries. Russia is unequivocal as to where the blame lies. They say that this was a deliberate provocation by the Israeli Air Force. F-16s hid behind the transponder of a Russian reconnaissance plane with 14 spotters on board. And they then started firing missiles at the Syrian coast around Latakia. And in the inevitable anti-aircraft response, the Russian aircraft was thus deliberately shot down, deliberate by Israel. It's quite a serious escalation, Steve. It's been brewing. Russia had earlier identified fire from a French frigate. You would have thought when Macron can't provide jobs or public services for millions of poor and working people in France, he didn't have money to burn off the Levantine coast, but he clearly did. It's like Suez 1956 all over again. Israel and France working in concert against an Arab country, in this case Syria, in 1956, of course, Egypt over the Suez Canal.
Indeed, yes. I mean, the thing is, George, this, we both know, this has been brewing for years and years and years, and we're almost waiting for some sort of major event to happen.
Yeah,
really,
waiting for World War III,
I think so, yeah. I mean, I wrote in 2016 that this is the first world war of the 21st century, because you have, every country's got some sort of vested interest in Syria for whatever reason. And I think we're just waiting for that escalation. This is going to be the tipping point. I think the next few days will tell. As we're recording, we know the US have gone, nothing to do with us, Gov. They've washed their hands of it.
Even though the clue's in the word F-16.
Who sold them to Israel?
No, gave them.
Okay,
they don't
yes,
sell them.
No,
they give them.
No, that's us, isn't it? That's the UK.
We sell, they give. Yeah.
No, of course, the US have denied any knowledge of this. There's been no statement so far from the UK government. However, I think that's going to be probably brewing as we speak. So it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. But what hasn't been reported, I don't know if you've seen this, it's very interesting regards to Syria. The Dutch government came out last week, very quiet statement, no one really reported it. The Dutch government came out and said they are no longer funding rebel groups in Syria, and they specifically noted that they're withdrawing funding from December of this year for the White Helmets because they are concerned about this money is actually going to terrorists. So while the US and the UK's position on Syria is clear, and France as well, and Israel, it looks like maybe some other sort of Western partners might be getting a bit spooked by this situation.
Of course, what the Dutch statement made, I paid particular attention to it. Gayatri is Dutch, so I sent it to her immediately. What's significant about it is it's an admission that they had previously been funding terrorism in Syria. But it's also, by extension, a very clear signal that the Netherlands' allies are still funding terrorism in Syria.
No, absolutely.
The situation is even worse, though, because this happened yesterday. Let me say that again. Because this happened on the very day this week when Russia and Turkey had made a military agreement, significant in itself because Turkey is a member of NATO. So a NATO country made a military agreement with Syria to halt the Syrian-Russian advance on Idlib and therefore deprive the United States and France and Britain of the pretext of their intervention as a result of some big conflict going on in Idlib, may or may not involve a flag, false or otherwise, of a chemical weapons attack. That was swept off the table on the very day that the Israelis staged this provocation with the Russian reconnaissance plane. So it's like someone shot their fox. They were waiting for the Idlib battle to start so they could then intervene. There's now not going to be an Idlib battle, so they've started anyway. That's what it looks like to me. Now, Maybe I'm being naive. Imagine that this close call, well, it's not a close call for the 14 dead Russians, they're already dead in Davy Jones' locker. But this close call, in a sense, just might, bring people to their senses. That's how close we are to World War III.
I think so, yeah. I mean, the Turkey thing is fascinating because what did we say on this programme in the last series? That Turkey obviously is now moving more towards BRICS. They came out and said they wanted to become a member of BRICS, so it would be BRICS-T, and that they were moving away.
That works, BRICS-T. I'll soon it'll be Brixton.
Well, yes. And we said that on this programme, that it's very interesting, Turkey, and obviously we saw that with the deal that was reached between Turkey and Russia. So I'm slightly more sceptical than you, I think, on this. I can't see, knowing just what vested interests are at play in Syria, I'm not sure that this will be an opportunity for people to come together.
A game changer? No, I mean, you're right. More likely than not, it will not. But for example, I've been reviewing the international press coverage of it, and there is a sense of alarm in even countries that have been gung-ho for the war, like The Guardian, for example, which has become the pro-war gazette. Imagine, The Guardian, The Observer, the pro-war gazette. I say imagine because the Observer actually supported the Suez War in 1956 and spent many decades later, from people like me, being described as the pro-war observer. And people didn't quite know what we meant by that, but we meant the Suez War. But The Guardian today has as its second headline, its strapline, Russia blames Israel for provocation. So it seemed to reflect a sense of alarm. And alarm's the least of it. I mean, this is the anniversary of the end of the First World War. The First World War began with an inexorable, like an iceberg drifting towards the disaster. And that's what it feels like to me in Syria, as you put it. When all these countries have got something invested in a conflict, in a war, it only takes a spark like this for the whole balloon to go up.
No, absolutely, and of course, in the background to all this, there's so much other stuff going on as well, isn't there? There's the pipeline saga that's rumbling. Tony Blair went to the meeting with the Italian foreign minister, I believe, didn't he? About one potential
on behalf of democratic.
Indeed, yes. Democratic what? We're not sure.
Democratic pipeline.
But yeah, so you've got that, and then you've got Angela Merkel wanting the Russian-backed pipeline. So there's this sort of play going on in the EU at the minute as well. And as we said, the Netherlands withdrawing the support for the rebel groups. It's an extremely complex situation. But the problem is, obviously, as we know, with the media, it's drilled down to very sort of basic kind of right and wrong arguments.
Well, it is amazing. I resisted these pipeline stories for quite a long time because they smacked of conspiracy theory to me. But they're undoubtedly true.
Yeah.
I mean, the First World War began over a squabble for colonies.
Yeah.
The next World War might begin over a squabble for pipelines. Yeah. This Azerbaijan, Baku, the Baku Bucks, Baku have actually hired Tony Blair.
Yes.
I mean, that's what's come to. The British Prime Minister has been hired by a potentate in Baku to go around the world negotiating with other governments on his behalf so that a pipeline can be built, thus making Russia's pipeline uneconomic. Now the Germans are standing up against it. In fact, that's one of the stories of this age. We should discuss it at more length sometime. Germany is breaking free from US hegemony. It's making a turn towards Russia.
Yep.
The German foreign minister, has openly stated they want to break from the dollar in terms of bank transactions because they believe it gives the US unwarranted power and allows the US to dictate to the EU and Germany itself on what its foreign policy should be. And Germany's big enough and strong enough to actually make a stand on that.
Exactly, and it's these kind of side issues which don't appear connected in any way to Syria, which are actually connected because it's all diplomacy at the end of the day.
Syria and Iran, because of course the proximate cause of EU disaffection with the US is the EU unilaterally withdrawing from the Iran nuclear deal.
Yeah.
And then there's the Paris Climate Accord, and then there's trade wars. I mean, next Monday, the US is about to launch, if that's the word, or impose $200 billion worth of economic sanctions against China.
Yeah.
China will respond. So trade wars, pipelines, all the ingredients are in place.
They are.
For the balloon to go up. A new line of Coke may soon be available. A cannabis Coke, please, may soon be the request in bars, restaurants and shops. That's right. The giant Coca-Cola is looking forward to the day. I don't mean that they want the day to come. I mean that they are speculating that the day will come when cannabis will be legal. And they're in talks, Steve, with an Australian company. Why are your eyes sparkling? Why are you licking your lips? They're in talks with an Australian company about manufacturing a new line of Coke.
Yes.
A cannabis Coke. What do you think of that, mate?
Well, look, I mean, the thing is, we all know the story behind Coca-Cola that originally had cocaine in it. I have issues with this on numerous levels, not least obviously because it's a huge multinational corporation cashing in on the next sort of liberal fad, if you like. But also, for me, on a serious note, it underscores the issues surrounding legalisation of cannabis. Because for people who use it medicinally, there's great concern that the movement at the minute for legalising cannabis for medicinal purposes is basically handing it to the control of government and big pharmaceutical companies. And the concern amongst people who use it medicinally is that obviously big pharmaceutical companies, the price will go through the roof, it will be watered down, what's it going to be made with, who's profiting from it, and this always happens when things which are inherently sort of social, almost underground phenomenon, if you like, which cannabis use is, are given to the hands of corporations. And Coca-Cola just sort of jumping on the bandwagon. I mean, what they're doing, I've read up on it, what they're doing, they're using the non-psychotic element of cannabis, CBD, which is the part of the plant which has medicinal purposes, allegedly. And they're going to be using that, and it's going to be marketed. And
it's a contribution to the health of the nation.
Yes, wonderful Coca-Cola, doing what it does best. Making us all healthy.
I think, though, that you make a really important point. To those in the counterculture, which clearly I'm not, and judging by your shoes, you are, in the counterculture becomes the culture. Of course, capitalism takes it over.
Yes.
I predicted long ago, when legalizing cannabis had much less support than it seems to have now. I'm still against it myself. But I predicted, if it's legalized, WD and HO Wills, or whoever the cigarette manufacturers are now, will open factories and will run off cannabis cigarettes, just as they then were running off ordinary killer cigarettes. And of course, that which seems edgy, countercultural, slightly subversive, revolutionary even, now will just become another part of the cash nexus.
Yeah, it's just bastardized, basically.
Yeah, I mean, Coke will, notwithstanding the point you make about the medicinal part of the plant, as soon as they're able to, they'll be producing, as will all the multinationals, cannabis on a mass basis. Now, it's my reason for opposing legalization that can only increase the number of people effectively using drugs. You may say they're necessarily harmless or less harmful than other drugs, and I accept that. They're less harmful than alcohol, no doubt, less harmful than smoking 20, never mind 40 cigarettes a day. But nonetheless, they are part of the stupefaction of the masses. And that level of stupefaction can only go up because once a full advertising campaign backed by multinational investment in by the big corporations, well, there'll be people smoking, drinking cannabis that would never have thought of doing so before.
Now, you say it's a really interesting point, and my views on drug legalisation are quite rigid, as we've discussed before. However, I'm quite receptive to that point, actually, about the stupefaction of the masses, because we see it with everything else. We see it with social media, which is used as a tool by the capitalist establishment, if you like, to quite often dumb down the masses. You see it with Facebook, removing news from the feeds, trying to push people into...
Facebook's on a suicide mission, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, it is, but...
Don't you think that it's actually leaving a big gap that somebody's going to fill?
I think so, yeah. It's sort of... It's plotting its own funeral almost. But no, your point about stupefaction of the base is very interesting, and I'm quite receptive to that, even though, like I say, I am in favour of legalisation. But Coke, getting their hands on it, it just sums up the whole issue with what's going to happen when cannabis is effectively legalised. So, not good news in my book.
It's the real thing. Capitalist Coke.
Quick! It's the Novichok Mania flash sale. We've got 50% off half-baked articles, buy one get one free on crazed propaganda, and when you spend £150 or more, you get free fitting on government messages subliminally given to the public. But quick, this sale is only lasting until the public is dumbed down enough. That's right, it's Novichok, it's Mania, it's Novichok Mania.
It is, and
George.
in fact, if you're lucky enough, the government will buy your house or your restaurant at a vastly inflated price.
They will. Terms and conditions at www.gov.uk.
Other restaurants are available. What on earth is going on in Salisbury? The entire country was briefly fixated in the week when breaking news, 2 Russians have taken gravely ill in another restaurant, another Italian restaurant, in Salisbury.
It's the eye ties that did it, isn't it now?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's past time. Past time that we got to the bottom of this. It is a spaghetti
Carry on.
hoop. This whole thing, an endless spaghetti hoop. Not only were 2 people struck down by Novichok, months later another 2. And months later, a third 2. Always couples, always men and women. Single people seem safe in Salisbury.
Yes. Don't get married.
Gay couples even seem
They do.
safe in Salisbury. But men and women are in grave danger in Salisbury restaurants. And you've got to ask what it must be doing to the economy in Salisbury.
Must be devastating for it. I mean, the thing is, they're saying that this couple that got ill, one is allegedly, there's been rumours that one of them is actually a Russian. They're saying, oh no, it's not.
What's the odds on a Russian still being in Salisbury?
What is the attraction to Salisbury?
That's the cathedral, don't you know? It's the spire. It's the biggest clock in the world. It's the slush. It's the snow. No, I mean, if you were a Russian, would you be hanging around in Salisbury?
It must be. You're surprised the Russian government hasn't issued a state announcement saying do not travel there. I mean, the thing is, they're saying no, it's nothing. We don't. It's not Novichok. We don't think it's anything. There's nothing untoward here. But what was interesting?
Well, was there ever Novichok? I mean,
that's,
you say that, but the people suffered exactly the same symptoms. It was again in a restaurant, food related. Maybe it isn't Novichok, but maybe none of it was Novichok.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, and the thing is as well, when you sort of watch this story breaking, if you like, it was a masterclass in sort of media manipulation and bias, because the thing is, we all know, and Mr. Chomsky documented this very well in the 80s, how once
manufacturing consent.
Yeah, once there's a story which the establishment press want pushing, as was the case with the Skripal story from the outset, this kind of continues in soft propaganda almost, where any sort of other incident which could be partially related to it is blown out of all proportion, just to keep that sort of fear and that edginess amongst the public, to keep that momentum of the story and the propaganda surrounding it going. And this was a classic example of that. I mean, it was immediately jumped on and blown out
hazmat
of
suits, emergency response, street sealed off, customers in the restaurant, some faux Italian joint,
Yeah.
taken out of the restaurant, locked up in an empty pub. No wonder there's an empty pub. There must be a lot of empty premises. I tell you what, this is probably a good time to invest in Salisbury. Property must be rock bottom. You could probably buy a restaurant in Salisbury now for what we've got in our pockets right now. In fact, let's move down there and open the Novichok Cafe.
The hottest thing in online gaming at the moment is a computer game called Fortnite, where players battle each other out in teams, pitting themselves against enemies, hacking, shooting, dismembering each other until only one team is left standing. And it's the Labour Party conference starting on Sunday. George, in the spirit of Fortnite, which my stepson plays almost on a daily basis, there are two games in Fortnite. One's called Save the World and the other's called Battle Royale. You could almost say that the Labour Party conference will be a case of Jeremy Corbyn trying to save the world in a Battle Royale against the right-wing whatchamacallit.
Yeah, well, considering you didn't script that, that's a pretty brilliant summary of the Labour conference,
the top of my head.
I must say. The topple of your head.
Topple of my head.
The nice hat, by the way.
Thanks.
Do you like my shoes?
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, great.
The Labour Party leader, Jeremy Corbyn, the most anti-racist man in Britain. In fact, a man quite, I would say, obsessed by anti-racism, and the most achingly politically correct in sexual gender matters. I mean, Jeremy Corbyn doesn't make passes at girls with glasses or girls at all. Jeremy Corbyn, although he's been married 3 times, I'm perfectly sure all 3 of his wives had to grab him and tie him down to the bed.
It's more likely to make a pass at one of his marrows from his allotment, isn't
Exactly.
he? Probably.
Yet this man is still being assailed as a effing anti-Semite and racist by one woman Labour MP, Dame Margaret Hodge, who's doubled down, and Jess Phillips, who just accused him of being to blame for the fact that the Labour Party is no longer safe for women. So according to her, it's not safe for Jews and it's not safe for women.
Who is it safe for?
Well, exactly. Now, even if that were true, as opposed to any other party or any other part of our society, men chase women, heaven forfend. Even if it were true, how could that be Corbyn's fault?
No, exactly. And how could it be? The problem with these allegations, and while, as you say, it could be any other political party, and these issues exist, and it's just a wider example of the issues that exist in society. It's going to be in any political party. But no one can quantify these allegations. No one can say, well, it's okay, so X many people have had this done to them in the Labour Party. Right. And it sort of brings us on to a broader issue around the conference, doesn't it? Because we're 3 years into Corbyn now. This will be his 3rd conference, won't it? If my maths serves me correctly. Third conference. Do we think this is going to be the tipping point in the fight between the right and the left?
I do. The only question left open is whether the right wing then leave. Now, they're in a bit of disarray at the moment. First of all, they can't agree that Chuka should be their leader. And Chuka will not leave unless he is the leader. He's a poodle. He's a show pony. And he will not agree to Jess Phillips being the leader, for example. So there's a battle royale going on in the right wing as to whether they should leave, and if they leave, on what basis, the new name, do they link up with the Liberal Democrats, and who will be the leader. The left are definitely going to win really significant victories in Liverpool. I'm sure that the shaky nail that a lot of MPs have got their coats currently hanging on will fall from the wall. There will be a new form of reselection, and if I'm right, it will probably be automatic. Everyone will automatically have to be reselected before every election. You know, it's such a Bolshevik idea. The US Republicans and Democrats have had it in place for 100 years. Secondly, policy will henceforth be made digitally by the mass membership of the Labour Party.
He's been pushing for that since day one, hasn't he?
Definitely,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that that's going to go through.
Again, that's not wild. That's what the Green Party does. It's one member, one vote.
Yeah, now that's very significant because will the Labour membership vote to spend perhaps £100 billion on Trident renewal? Will the membership want to remain in NATO when it's involved in wars all over the world, never mind the North Atlantic, and many other things? I think it opens a door that when I was fighting for Labour Party democracy well over 30 years ago, nearly 40 years ago, we hadn't even thought of, because of course the internet hadn't yet been invented by Al Gore. So it's going to be a momentous Labour conference. I look forward next week, which is our last free week, to having a proper discussion about what has happened. But what I predict will happen is that Jeremy Corbyn will finally, properly be in charge of the Labour Party at the end of the Labour Party conference in Liverpool. He's been in office, but not in power. He's now about to be in office and in power.
I agree. I think that's quite a good sort of summing up of the situation. I think you can see coming out of the Corbyn Labour MPs at the minute, you can sort of see the hints at what's
There's a new confidence, isn't there?
Yeah, and what's going to be on the policy table. Angela Rayner's coming out very vocally about inequality in education. You've seen a big push as well around the welfare. There's a hot debate going on about that at the minute, whether Labour, because the TUC and Unite have come out calling for universal credit, the DWP and the government's flagship new benefit, they've come out calling for that to be completely scrapped. So there's pressure on Labour to do that. I think they may give some movement in that. But I think welfare, education, it's all going to be surrounding, I think they're tying it in as well slightly to the 10-year anniversary of the financial crash. There's going to be a lot of stuff around inequality and social mobility and improving people's life chances. That's the feeling I'm getting looking behind what people are saying at the minute. But yeah, I think you're right. I think he's 3 years in, and I think I don't think he's going to hold back this time, or rather his machinery isn't going to hold back in pushing through their policies and finally delivering what many of his supporters want, which is this sort of radical democratic socialism, which he's been promising for the
But it can't happen, Steve, with the current crop of MPs. Either the current crop of MPs have got to change, or they have to be changed.
Yeah.
There has to be a mass Damascene conversion to the ideas that the Labour membership want to see implemented. That's possible. I mean, it's already happened with, I think, a significant number of Labour MPs that were trying to get rid of Corbyn before, but now know better.
Yeah.
But there's the irreconcilables, and they are large in number. They are scores in number, who cannot be trusted to even allow Corbyn to get in the taxi to go to Buckingham Palace to accept the seals of office and become Prime Minister. They could mount a coup against Corbyn after he'd won a general election, and they simply can't be trusted. You know, I could name names, but everyone watching this already knows the names. Chuka Munna, Jess Phillips, Tom Watson. I wouldn't trust any of these people to, mind my glass of water while I went to the bathroom.
No, exactly. I mean, Tom Watson especially. I mean, it's a preposterous situation.
An Italian restaurant in Salisbury.
Indeed, yes. Drinking a can of cannabis Coke. Tom Watson especially, it's a preposterous situation. The fact he's pulled out of giving the speech. I mean, it's the deputy leader of the Labour Party has refused.
What is he any longer for?
I don't know, weight
but you
loss
know why
adverts?
They can't remove him? Because a contender would have to get 45 nominations from amongst Labour MPs. And there's not even 45 Labour MPs would be prepared to nominate somebody against Tom Watson. That's important to grasp, because it shows just how few MPs that Jeremy Corbyn has been able to count on.
Very good point.
And it's bigger now than it was before.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think it's going to be fascinating, and I think what will be interesting as well. It will cement. I mean, it's unarguable already, but it will cement further the notion that the grassroots members of the Labour Party really should be and will be driving the party almost, if you like. I think this is a conference that's going to cement Corbyn's position, cement the grassroots membership in their position of control, which in my opinion, not a Labour supporter that I am, but in my opinion, the members should be in control.
Well, it's this odd kind of organisation where the members are not in control.
And that's how it is at the minute. And so I think it's...
The idea that the members pick a woman or a man to get a very highly paid and very comfortable job, clean, no heavy lifting, plenty of money, and that the people you've given that privilege to should actually be in charge of you. It's a nonsensical idea.
Yeah, of course it is. Absolutely.
I mean, you've had a lucky break getting made a Labour MP. I was one for almost 20 years. And the idea that you should then be in charge of the people who gave you the lucky break, think about it. It's completely zany.
It is zany, yes, exactly. So I think it's going to be fascinating, and I think we'll have a lot to talk about next week.
Yeah,
so
next week's our last free week, I think, isn't it?
It is, yes, and then we'll be going back to Patreon, where you can subscribe to us for less than 75 pence a month. That's I don't know, what would that buy you anymore?
Well,
not a lot.
It is literally not 20 pence a week.
So
for about 15, 17 pence a week, you can go on watching and spotting the fashion choices of the great Topple Galloway double act.
You can. And that's it for this week. We hope you enjoyed the show. And please keep your comments coming in, because we read them all on YouTube.
Loads of them, yeah.
It's really good, isn't it?
Now that it's on YouTube,
I know.
screeds
Yes. Overriding comments about our dress sense. I can't
a lot about our dress, not so much about our political line. Perhaps we should just do a fashion show.
Maybe yes.
a dog walk every week on Topple Galloway.
But that is it for this week. Please get in touch with us on Twitter. As always, it's at Mr. Topple, at George Galloway. Until next week, take care of yourselves. Just one more thing. If you follow my work on the Canary, you'll know I write a lot about the Department for Work and Pensions and the policies that it rolls out and how it affects disabled people and some of the poorest people in our society. There's a big push at the minute for the Labour Party to adopt a position of stop and scrap universal credit. Universal credit is the new Department for Work and Pensions benefit, which rolls 6 previous ones into one. This policy is extremely dangerous. It was devised from a group of people, as I've documented, who think that the poor are to blame for their own poverty and misery, and that they need to help themselves out of it. Essentially, universal credit was designed to roll all the undeserving poor as they see them into one place. It cannot be fixed. This policy needs to be stopped for numerous reasons, as I've documented. Labour, you must adopt this at the party conference this year. Jeremy Corbyn, if you're watching, you must adopt a scrap universal credit. I will be watching with interest, and I will be following up on next week's show about this as well.
Russia's relationship with Israel is a bit like one's relationship with one's ex-wife. Complicated. There's a love-hate issue in there. Russia was the first country in the world to recognize the state of Israel in 1948. Other Soviet countries, like Czechoslovakia, supplied the weapons that fueled the Haganah's conquest of almost all of Palestine at that time. But things have certainly gone sour. The decision by the Israeli Air Force to hide behind a Russian reconnaissance plane and cause the death of now 20 Russian service personnel in what Russia is describing as a deadly provocation, which gave only 60 seconds notice to the pilots and the crew, who now lie at the bottom of the sea, mean big trouble.